Hola, hola, hello everyone. Had some problems with the stream, but here we are. Welcome to another live Q&A. I am Pete Moriarty. We help small businesses systemize, organize, and scale using Google Workspace and other tech tools. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. This channel is primarily based around Google Workspace, but we also cover other small business tech tools like Asana for task and project management. And we talk about a few other apps that we sell like Dialpad and Hiver, which is a shared mailbox app, and anyway, lots of different stuff. But most of what these streams cover is Google Workspace. And if you're watching the repeat of this one, there should be down the bottom, because my team will put them down here after the stream, chapters and sections. So you should be able to skip through if there's particular stuff that you want to watch or listen to. You can skip through to the different chapters. And if you want to drop a question for next time, you can do that at ask.itgenius.com. So ask.itgenius.com, drop a question in there, and that's going to go up on my question panel, which is in front of me here somewhere. Let me go and find it. There it is. So all our questions come up here, and from here I will be answering these live. Now, what's my my most recent one is here. Okay, it's one about admins. So if you are on the live stream, I'll try and answer any of them live, of course, and I'll prioritize those who are in the YouTube comments. So if that's you and you're watching live, please say hello, drop me a little message and let me know where you're watching from. If you've got any questions, we're covering Workspace. We're going as deep as we can, as long as my stream lasts. It was published on private before, but I think it's public now. It's broadcasting on the channel. I can see that people are watching. So thanks for being here if you're watching, and welcome. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in to our session. Now, if I can get my little stream here, just going to move it over to the right window so I can see what I'm doing. Okie dokie, cool. So most popular question here is from Dwayne. How do different file recovery options work in Google Drive? How do they compare, and when is data considered unrecoverable? Well, that's a great question. Let's have a look at your files in Google Drive, and let's have a look at what options we've got to recover data from our Google Drive. Now, hey Google, turn off the music. A little bit of music going on in the background there. Okay. So here I have my Google Drive. I've got all my stuff sitting in my drive, and then I've got stuff that I share with my company and my team here in shared drives. Things that I've uploaded from my computer, or things that are synchronized from my computer using the folder synchronization tools. Use this computers menu here. So if you install Google Drive on your computer, you'll get the computers menu here, and you can start to synchronize like your desktop or your documents or something like that. Stuff that's outside of your Google Drive folder, which is pretty handy. And you can also see we've got a bin here. That's pretty obvious, pretty straightforward. Okay, so when we delete something in our Google Drive, I'll go to my Google Drive here and I'll find a file, and I'll go and hit delete on that file. It's going to say, hey, do you want to move that to the bin? And it does warn us this is going to be deleted forever after 30 days. So I delete a file, it then goes and ends up in my bin. There we go. And I got a couple of files here. Looks like some junk documents that I've created in the last few days. Yes, now after 30 days, they will be deleted. In the past, they stayed there for, I think, kind of indefinitely, but Google decided to change the rules and change how the platform works. And so after 30 days, just like Gmail, they will disappear from your trash. Now, I typically don't delete anything in our business unless it's, I'm doing a cleanup of Drive and there's things that are literally an empty document, like what you can see here in my Drive. I usually don't delete anything, and the reason for that is I'm a bit of a pack rat, and I like to keep a copy of absolutely everything just in case. Maybe in a year's time or a couple of years' time, customer comes back and either says, hey, I want the same deal on the project that I got last time, or I want to sue you. Someone just did that last week. You guys did all this work for us 18 months ago, and now we want to sue you because we don't think you delivered properly, right? So we keep everything because we've got to be able to defend ourselves from that kind of thing. Every now and again that does happen. Very rare, but every now and again it does happen. So I keep everything in Drive, but if you decide that you want to delete something, it's going to go to the bin and then it's going to disappear. Now, this is my drive. What about our shared drives? Well, let's go ahead and have a look at shared drives here. In my shared drives, I'll open up a, let's open up a safe folder, go to my a track drive, which is our marketing team. And here we go, feedback on AdWords for Pete. All right, cool. So if I right click on this file and I go move to bin, again, it says, do you want to move to the bin after 30 days? It's going to be deleted forever. Okay, where does that go if it's in a shared drive? Well, each shared drive actually has a dedicated bin just for that shared drive. So if I click on, oops, no, that is the bin button. That's not view trash. That's the actual bin button. Where is the bin button? All right, let's try. Maybe we've got to go, here we go. Okay, so you got to click on the shared drive and then you go to view bin. Nothing in the bin right now, but same, these are going to be deleted after 30 days. Now, are they truly gone after 30 days? Pretty much expect them to be gone. In some cases, we can get things back in the Google ecosystem after their deletion period. If you've got a user that you've deleted, you've got up to 2 weeks that you can restore them. And if they're not available in the admin panel, which I saw the other day, there appears to be a menu that lets you bring them back now. You've got to basically access and contact support to get things back. With files, I've personally never seen a recovery after 30 days in the bin. So you probably expect that things are pretty gone once they're gone from that 30 days. At least Google gives you 0 guarantees past 30 days in the bin. So what other options do you have to recover a file if it's been deleted? Well, if it's gone and you've got no backups, you're probably in trouble. You've probably got no option. But there are some preventative measures that you can take, and there's one place to check in your account that it might be. First up, preventative measures. A backup for Google is a good idea. Now, some people will want to back up locally to their computer with a hard drive or something like that. That's not really my recommendation. It doesn't hurt to have, if you're on a Mac, a hard drive plugged in and letting it do its time machine backup, once per hour it runs a backup, and that's a good thing. It encrypts your backups as well, so just in case someone breaks into your house and steals your computer, your data's probably going to be safe. But would I rely on that as a primary backup for something like Google Drive? A, there's just not enough storage on a local hard drive for all of the data that's in my business. And B, it's not the most reliable backup solution to take a full copy of everything on the cloud and then allow you to access it. Most importantly, the Google documents are not going to be backed up, which is probably going to be most of your business anyway, if you're mostly working with the Google ecosystem. So that becomes a little bit of a problem when it comes to backup. Furthermore, sometimes hard drives that are sitting on a desk, spinning away for years at a time, fail when it comes time to recover from them, and you can really run into trouble there. If you've only got one hard drive plugged into one computer in one location, it's not a real backup. You want to have data across multiple different locations, across multiple different types of media. And with that, it means that you need multiple hard drives to do that kind of offsite backup. You need to be rotating them to another position. Okay, cool. So what's the other option? A cloud-to-cloud backup. Now, there's multiple options available for you. You could use Backupify. You could use another product called Spanning. Fun fact, they're both owned by the same company now. There's a third one, fairly new entrant called AFI, which I've seen a lot of people recommend. Personally, haven't tested that one yet, but we do sell Backupify and Spanning to our customers, and we get volume discounts. So if you're interested in that, click on the link down below this video and have a chat to our team. Once you, let me try that again, grab a drink of water. Now, once you have a cloud-to-cloud backup set up for your Workspace account, every day, or sometimes multiple times a day, a full copy of all of your data will be sucked out of your Google account and moved over to a third-party encrypted data center. And the thing that I love about this is it happens automatically and in the background no matter where you are, no matter where your account is set up. And it also means that because it's happening automatically, you don't have to remember, but also you're able to recover it from any location because it's all based on the internet. Thumbs up so far. Next. The good thing about an online backup is the storage is pretty much unlimited. You can get a license which gives you lots of different versions and revisions of your files. And when it comes to a data loss event, it's highly unlikely that Google is going to lose your data. It has happened in very, very, very rare cases, but it's highly unlikely Google's going to lose your data. What's more likely is one of your staff is going to go and be cleaning up their Google Drive and accidentally delete the wrong file or the wrong folder. Or it might even be you. Don't blame your staff. It could be you. Delete the wrong file, delete the wrong folder. After 30 days, it's gone. Next issue is less likely, but possible, malicious damage. employee doesn't like you, on their way out, planning to set up in competition, or for whatever reason they decide they're going to delete some stuff. Now, these things might happen without you even noticing. And the problem is, after 30 days, if this data is gone, well, there's just no way of getting it back. But having an online cloud-to-cloud backup means that for those accidental or on purpose worst case scenarios, you've got an option to rely on to get your data back. Now, are they perfect? Mostly. Would I still do a backup once a quarter? Yes, probably a good idea to maybe do a Google takeout and download all of your information, put it on a hard drive, put it in a fireproof safe. Once a year, maybe once a quarter if you're extra paranoid. Do I do that? No, not necessarily. Like, I've got a backup of my photos and stuff like that, but our business data, I trust the online cloud-to-cloud backup. And I also trust that we're using the little secret. And the little secret is one place that you can check if you've deleted data and maybe you're trying to get it back and you don't have a backup set up right now. Now, the little secret is Google Vault. If you're on a Business Plus plan or one of Google's enterprise plans, you can get access to Google Vault. And Google Vault is like a carbon copy of all of your Google data coming in and out of your business. Now, primarily, this is a e-discovery tool, meaning that it's designed to be used for when someone is in a legal dispute or you want to search through the files or search through the emails of all of your staff in one place because you've got an important matter that needs to be dealt with legally or compliance-wise in the business, right? But it's almost like a backup because effectively it retains a copy of your data, even if the original copy has been deleted. So if someone's deleted an email or a chat message or a file sitting in their Google Drive, you can still access that via Google Drive if you've set up the correct retention policies. So I'll show you what that looks like in Google Drive. If you're a business Google Workspace user and you have access to Google Drive, the best thing that you can do right now, and you have access to Google Vault, the best thing you can do right now is to go to vault.google.com and ensure that your retention policies are set up, because without the retention policies, the data won't actually be retained inside of Vault. Now, my personal preference is to just retain everything indefinitely. And you'll see here, you can set settings for different applications within your business. If I open an individual application, I get to choose exactly what the retention period is. And that lets me choose how long Google Vault is going to store and keep data inside the Vault for me. Once you have configured your Vault, then it is all done. You can leave it there, and if you need to get access to a file, you can run a search, and that search will let you see across multiple mailboxes or multiple Google Drives and help you get access to your files again if they've gone missing. But don't rely on it. Vault is an archiving service, not a backup service. Recoverability is difficult. There's no one button to recover thousands or hundreds of thousands of files in one go, and you may be stuck cutting and pasting data. It's good if you're in an absolute critical situation, but it's not great for day-to-day recoverability. And for that reason, we recommend a backup. All right, cool. Great question. I like that one. That is a good one. If you're on the live, say hello. Hey, g'day, Graham. Great to see you here. Welcome, welcome. All right. Let me open up my questions again. All right, next question here. That is an excellent question. All right. So, how do I fix domain must have at least one email server error in the toolbox app? I've typed in the MX records and also used presets from Squarespace. Okay, interesting. Well, I'm going to assume if you have a error saying that you don't have one mail server, that you've put something wrong with your MX records. Let's go and have a look at what a set of healthy MX records look like. So if I go to mxtoolbox.com, I'll go ahead and put in my domain name. This is going to load my DNS records, and these happen to be called MX records. Now, the MX records are the mail records. These are the ones that make sure that your email actually goes to Google when someone types in your email address. And these are very important to have on your domain, because if they're missing or they're corrupt or they're set incorrectly, then you simply won't get email. And sometimes people don't even get a bounce back when the email isn't successfully delivered. Most of the time they do, but sometimes they don't. So it's pretty important to make sure that you get this right. Now, mail records have different sets of priorities. That's what this pref, or standing for preference, table column means. And 1 is first preference, 5 is obviously second preference, 10 is the next preference. These are gaining priority through numbers. The lower the number, the higher the priority. And you can see here there's different servers with the same priority sometimes. So it will just basically, like a round robin, share the priority between those different servers. Now, these are domain names, and they're being translated into IP addresses, which are Google's servers. It's even labeled with Google there as well, as their Google servers. And that's how basic domain names and MX records work. Now, there's some other technical stuff here, like how quickly they update when you change something. That's getting more into the technical detail. But if you don't have valid records in your DNS settings or your domain name settings, then you don't receive any email. So it's really important to get these right. Now, if you're stuck with these and you need help setting your MX records, fixing your MX records, click the link down below. We have a fast track service. It's called Quick Fix, and we can help you to restore your domain records if you're in Australia or the US or anywhere in those time zones during business hours. We have instant support available for you. So you click the button, chat to our team on our website, and they'll be able to help you with these immediately for a very reasonable price. But if you'd like some more help, we actually have a guide on our site, on YouTube, a guide on our channel, and the guide will help you to configure your records from scratch. But if you get to a point where you've followed our guides on the channel, you've set up your MX records, you've set up your text record, you've set up your SPF record, which is like an anti-spam record. Well, if you're getting an error that you need at least one MX record, I'm assuming there's a problem with what you've typed in. Now, sometimes people do something, really obvious, right? And they'll put like the number in front of the domain name. Don't do that. Sometimes they'll put in an IP address instead of a domain name. Don't do that. Sometimes they'll put in, your domain name in the host name, and then the host name is in another field somewhere else. Don't do that. So just be careful to check it. And remember that if you go to this tool, mxtoolbox.com, put in your domain name, if this is not returning a nice set of records here, which match the Workspace MX records help guide, which is here. Here it is. If your records don't match these records here, well, maybe something's wrong with how you've entered them, and you might need to give them another go at redoing them. Good question though. Thank you very much. All right, cool. How do I fix domain must have at least one mail server? Okay, well, we've already done that one now, haven't we? Okay. As Skype is shutting down, is there any way to migrate from Skype to Google Chat, or do you think Google Chat will shut down? What about OneSignal, Discord, or Telegram, or any other rocket chat? Does Google Chat have all the features of Slack? Well, this is a great question. I love this question because I've been thinking about this a lot over the last few days. So Skype is shutting down. It's disappearing. If you didn't see the announcement, finally Microsoft killed it. Like all good ideas that go to Microsoft, not all good ideas. Some of the ideas that go to Microsoft get killed, and this is unfortunately one of them. Now, I kind of don't know how Skype is even still around. There must be still people using it, I'm guessing. But it kind of fell from grace. Probably COVID was the last nail in the coffin, because everyone went to Zoom, and then everyone worked out how to use Zoom, and so why would you need to use Skype anymore, right? But where can you go with Skype? Some people still use Skype for dialing, and it had a really good pay-as-you-go international calling plan. So if you're interested in still making calls, there are some consumer services out there, like I think you can maybe use Viber or one of those other apps to make calls out with local numbers. Personally, haven't tested any of those, so I can't really give a recommendation. If you want to make business calls, there's some great features for business calling, like Dialpad, which we resell. Otherwise, there's other, they're called unified communications providers. So AirCall, 8x8, Ring Central, Google Voice is one of those. You've got to be based in the States. Not many other countries have access to Google Voice, but they're all options for getting a business phone number that will work on your computer and in an app on your mobile phone as well. So no matter where you are in the world, as long as you've got an internet connection and one of your devices, you can dial out from a business number. Now, we use that all the time because we have a work from home team. They're spread out all over the world, many in the Philippines, some in Australia. I'm living in Spain. And so we've got people dialing from all over, but we need to dial from consistent phone numbers so our customers can call one number and get through to someone. So for us, we use Dialpad, and that app lets us have a virtual phone system online to dial from wherever. Now, Skype is also used by many people from chat, and that's what this person who submitted this question is asking about. Is Skype a good app for chat? But more importantly, what are the alternatives? Now, I don't know if you're still using Skype for chat. Why? I mean, I'm genuinely curious, like what would be the features that would keep you on Skype? I don't know. But most people are going to want to move to another chat room-based program that you can have a room of people and chat in a group, but also then have individual instant messages too. And pretty much you can replicate that basic functionality across any app available today. Now you've got your consumer apps like WhatsApp, Messenger, Telegram, Signal, whatever flavor you choose to use there. And you've also got your business-focused apps, so Slack, Microsoft Teams, and Google Chat. Now, many of our customers have moved from Slack over to Google Chat over the years because they realized that using Slack, although it's got heaps of really great features, it's a bit of a double up. You're paying for additional licenses because once you use 10,000 messages, then you've got to pay to access your old history, and they basically hold your data hostage until you jump onto a paid plan. Everyone eventually pays for a paid plan because they forget something and they got to go back to the chat and they can't find it unless they pay and get access to the history. So Slack is a bit of a double up cost-wise. And even though it's quite familiar for people, and particularly those, I'm thinking like agencies who talk to their customers using Slack, it can be a little bit difficult to change over to a new system and application. The reason for that being, once you're in an ecosystem and everyone's on it, it's like Dropbox. It's hard to wean yourself off it and move to doing something different. But if the price is compelling to use something that you're already paying for with Google Workspace, and you already have access to the app, and Google Chat does 95% of the things that Slack does, feature for feature wise, well, why wouldn't you use Google Chat for that? That's been my strong recommendation on this channel for many, many years. If you can go all in on Google, you're probably going to have a better time because it integrates deeply with the rest of the Google ecosystem. You'll automatically see if someone's out of office. You'll automatically see someone's status if they're in a meeting. You've got the ability to integrate with other apps just like Slack does. So if something happens on your website or in your sales system and you want it to pop up inside your Google Chat using Zapier or another automation platform, really easy to do all of those things with Google Chat. You have all of your history. All of your history is saved to your Google Vault. You've got the ability to, with one click, set up a Google Meet, and you can even now record audio and video messages, of which the audio messages are transcribed. So if you're the kind of person who likes talking, it's kind of rude to just send people voice messages and expect that they're going to listen to them, even on 2x speed. And a lot of creative entrepreneurs are the kind of people that like to do that. But now in Google Chat, if you send an audio message, it'll transcribe and put the transcription below the audio message so they can listen if they want to listen, or they can just read and flick through something quickly, which I love. So Google Chat is, for me, 110% recommendation if you're moving away from Skype for the chat side of things. For the dialing or phone call side of things, try out consumer services if you just need one line and you want to pay for it ad hoc. If you're a more serious business and you're making higher volumes of calls, or you want the ability to route between multiple people, consider an app like Dialpad. And if you're thinking about switching to Messenger, WhatsApp, Viber, Telegram, any of those apps for chat within your team, big no-no. My strong recommendation is to avoid those because, like other consumer apps, if you are running your whole business on a Gmail account, you don't have administrative control of those apps. Employee leaves the company, your information is potentially leaving with them. They might set up in competition to you, they might take it to a competitor themselves, might get into the wrong hands, they might be using the same app for, I don't know, nefarious purposes outside of work, and that information somehow gets breached or gets into the wrong hands. I just don't like using personal apps. The other reason for it is if you've got staff, you probably don't want to be interrupting them in an app that is their personal space. Personal space meaning somewhere their family and their friends are going to be messaging them. They probably don't want to see a message from their boss, even if it is something really important in their personal space. Because when they're having their lunch break or they're having dinner, they don't want to see messages from the team. They want to enjoy their life. So having a dedicated app, which they can silence if they wish after hours, is a great thing for that work and home life separation, and your staff will really thank you for that. Now, try not to be tempted to use Slack, even though many people do. Google Chat does, as I said, 95% of the things that Slack does, and you don't get locked in for an extra license and paying for everyone just to keep access to your data when it's already available inside of Workspace if you're paying for a business account. So check it out on Workspace. Great question. Hope that one does well on the channel. I think lots of people are probably searching for Skype alternatives right now. That'd be a good one for business. Okay, so here we go. And by the way, I need a very quick energy break. I'll be back in about a minute or two. Bear with me one moment, guys. All right, we're back. You know, I had a sugary snack before I started, and that was a big mistake. now I'm running out of energy. Okay, so next question. By the way, if you want to ask a question live, drop it into ask.itgenius.com. I don't know how to do that from here. Maybe I can do it from my laptop over here. Let's see if this works. All right, ask.itgenius.com. There we go. All right. So if you want to ask a question, drop it in there. ask.itgenius.com. And you can even upvote questions that you like as well. And if you're watching on the stream, Graham's already said hello. Please say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. We've got community all over the world, which is pretty cool. And we're considering launching a like a chat room style community. Let me know what you think about that. Would you be interested in a free place that you can hang out with other people that are on business Google Workspace and ask questions? And I'll be in there. Some of my team will be in there answering questions, kind of like a free advice, Google Chat. Let me know if you're interested in that, because if you are, we're going to spin that up sometime soon. Just drop in the comments. All right, cool. So, hey, if you know this can help, can you help? Oh God, can you help me out on this weird thing about how my Chromebook just never lets me use tabs for longer than 5 seconds and the tab crashes? Huh, interesting. I don't know how many tabs open at once. Okay, interesting. So this to me sounds like a hardware issue. I won't spend too much time on this. If you've got like persistent bugs on a Chromebook, easiest thing to do is to give it a power wash. That's in settings, blows away the operating system, starts it from scratch. Of course, if you've got anything that is not already synchronized to your Chrome profile or saved, I mean, most things are automatically synchronized with a Chromebook, then just, back that stuff up. Power wash is effectively a format. It'll refresh it. If failing that, if you're still getting that to me sounds like hardware. Like it sounds like a RAM fault, because usually when you're opening and using tabs in Chrome, it's consuming RAM. You'd either want to get a professional to check it out, or, I mean, most Chromebooks are pretty cheap. Maybe just buy another one. Or you could repurpose an old computer using Chrome OS Flex. That's also another option as well. But that one sounds like hardware to me. All right, cool. Question on the chat, Violetta. Hey, welcome back to the channel. How do you do a cloud-to-cloud backup? Oh, I already answered that one. I answered that one first. So if you rewind later or now, you can rewind, and I answered that one first. But I answered cloud-to-cloud backups and why I might choose to do a backup, how long files stay recoverable in Google Drive, and that kind of thing. But in short, my recommendations are Backupify, Spanning, or AFI. I haven't tested AFI personally, but they're all apps that you can use to back up your Workspace account. They're our recommendations. Okay, Anonymous asks, how are the emails migrated from original domain 1 to the new domain 1 under domain 2? Ooh, good question. Cool. All right, so I didn't bring my iPad to the stream. Okay, that's fine. Let's do this guy in Canva. And let's do a pretty little drawing. All right, waiting. Okay, whiteboard time. Now, what's our date today? 25/03/13. Okay. So when we're doing a migration, let's get some sticky notes here, my favorite. We're going to have domain 1, and let's say that's itgenius.com. Zoom in here. And over here, we're going to have itgenius.com.au, right? And let's say we're going global. We're going to go from .com.au to .com because this is something that we did. And let's say right now you've got 2 Google Workspace accounts and you're moving from one to another like this. Now, sometimes if you've got multiple accounts and you're trying to consolidate into one account, you need to have emails running live at the same time, right? So sometimes you've got emails coming in here and you've got emails coming in here to both of these domains. And in order to move one of your domain names from this account over and into this account as an alias domain or an add-on domain, you need to delete it from the first account. Well, how do you delete it from the first account and add it to the second account? Well, you can't. So once the data is migrated, there's something that you need to first do. You need to first take this account, and we typically rename it to something like backup dot that domain. And then we can add your second production domain so that mail flows for both domains to the new account. Now, the questioner here asked about migrating data. How are the emails migrated from the original domain 1 to the new domain 1 under domain 2? And I assume what this person is talking about is taking the data from this domain. So that would be the mailboxes. Let's go and grab some, let's put in some little mailbox here. Right, so we got mailbox, right? And so they're saying, hey, how does the data move from here over to here? Because we can't just pick up that data and drop it over. If these are 2 separate Google Workspace accounts, we can't just like pick up a mailbox and move it across. The data needs to be migrated manually, effectively. So what we do is usually, if this is an existing account here with an existing domain name, well, we're going to need to leave the old account active and move the data into the new accounts here. Now, if you were just changing the primary domain, right? Let's say you wanted to keep your original account and you just wanted to change from itgenius.com.au to itgenius.com, right? Well, then you wouldn't bother setting up a new account, you would just change the primary domain name on this account. And there's a process for that. There's separate videos for that, right? You would just rename that to .com, and you would keep the helps if I can type. You'd keep the .com.au in this account, and then you just make the .com your primary domain. That's all you would need to do. That's pretty easy. But in this scenario, I'm assuming it's some kind of like business merge. I don't know, maybe the parent company.com is deciding to absorb the child or subsidiary.com.au. And so these mailboxes we need to move across. So my recommendation would be that a mailbox gets created here. And we might call this like, you know, Peter's new mailbox, right? Oh, geez, go away. The text is very small there. There we go. All right. So we've got Peter's new mailbox here. And with Peter's new mailbox, what we do is we move the data and the information from Peter's old mailbox to Peter's new mailbox. Right? So that goes over here. But Peter's old mailbox still exists. It's still going to have the old domain name even, you know, peter@itgenius.com.au. That old domain name is still going to exist there. And that might still even be receiving email. And once all of that mail is migrated over to the new mailbox here, then at that point is when you remove that domain from here, and you'd add it maybe as an alias, maybe as an add-on domain here to the new account, and the data comes across. Now, there's two ways of doing this. One is you can migrate the data first, check the data, and then take the domain name live if you want. That's kind of the slow way, right? It means that it's going to take longer because you've got to wait for the data to come across. There's more time working across two accounts, but better chance that things are going to go well. If you want to move really quickly, you can have staff sign into the new account and start using this new account. And at that point, you could configure the new domain, right, for this new account. They can start receiving email from day one. And then you rename this account to the backup, or you rename that to the backup account first, and then you add the new domain here. But then you migrate data second in the second step. Now, we call that a rapid cutover. Sometimes there's like an urgent merger. Like we've had public companies who've come to us and said, hey, we've just been bought out. This data needs to be moved immediately. We need users operating on the new domain and the new company under the new entity immediately because the old one's in liquidation, blah, 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 right? Sometimes you want to move it over really fast. Sometimes it's just you've got so much data and it's going to take weeks or even a month to move over all of those mailboxes. Maybe you've got tens or hundreds of mailboxes to move, and it's just going to take forever because of the API limits. In that scenario, well, okay, sure. Maybe you start production users on the new account and you leave the old account just migrating the data over bit by bit from these, the archive accounts, right? The problem with that is with the second method is that as that data gets moved across, it might make a mess in the new mailbox. And if something goes wrong with one of those migrations, which sometimes the migration tools do stuff up, they're IT tools, what can happen is you can have mailboxes that turn into a mess, but you can't delete them and start from scratch. If you do it the slow way and something goes wrong with the migration, you can delete and start from scratch with a fresh mailbox, and you end up with a clean mailbox. With the new one, because new emails are coming in here, you're getting new emails coming down. What that means is that unfortunately, you can't go ahead and just delete that mailbox. Interestingly enough, I used to set up a big mouse on my Mac. I might do that again. Big mouse. Here we go, pointer size. Let's make this guy a bit bigger. Hey, there we go. Nice. Now you guys can see what I'm doing a bit better. All right, cool. Oh no, the screen share doesn't have a big pointer. Oh, I can only see it on my end. Oh, that sucks. That's a bummer. All right. what a shame. Be nice if it could. It would be nice if that actually showed up on the screen share. What a bummer. Oh well. All right. But you get the idea here. So last question is, what migration tools should you use? Well, you can use the built-in migration tool inside Google Workspace. There's a tool in the admin panel. Google acquired some technology that lets you migrate mailboxes. It works pretty well. My team tell me there's bugs and errors in there from time to time, but for the most part, it works pretty well. And if you're just lifting and shifting Google to Google, it tends to do a reasonably good job. If you've got a large amount of users and a complex migration, it starts to leave some areas to be desired. The reason for that is quite often when you've got people operating on these new accounts and you've got two setups of mailboxes and two setups of accounts and they're both live, sometimes due to the nature of DNS and how emails are delivered, you can have some old stray emails still going to the old mailboxes after the migration happens, particularly if you're using non-Google email servers. So if you're using Microsoft Stack, if it's coming from Zoho or I don't know, web host, cPanel, something else, well, you may end up with emails that are coming to the old mailboxes after everything's been migrated to the new mailboxes. And what different tools allow you to do is like Migration Wiz, and there's a bunch of other third-party tools available online. My team will put them down the bottom when they cut up this video. They allow you to do what's called a delta migration. And a delta migration takes just what's new in the old mailbox and moves just what's new over to the new mailbox. And Google's tools try and do that. They're just not quite as good at doing that. So that's my strong recommendation for migrating these. That's the method of how that works. The tools that you want to use, and if you want help with those tools, are best to get in touch with our team. Click on the link down below. We do migrations all day, every day for all kinds of businesses all over the world. And most of our energy is making sure that all of your emails come across perfectly with no downtime and no data loss. That's our guarantee. And we've literally done it thousands of times, not thousands of mailboxes. We've done tens of thousands of mailboxes. We've done thousands of businesses migrated across to Google. And we've got that process absolutely down pat. We're probably the best in the world at that now due to volume. And we'd love to help you out if you want some help. All right, great question. Great question. All right, what do we got next? What have we got next? Let me check. Someone's messaging me on my phone. All right, cool. I don't know what that is, but that's all right. Okay. All right. How should suspended accounts be managed to balance security, compliance, and future reactivation needs? Good question. If you've got an account in Google Workspace and you're no longer using it, but you might need to use it again in the future, two steps that are really important to take, and a third step that it's a maybe if you want to lock it down a little bit extra. The first step obviously is for this employee or contractor or whoever it is who's no longer using the account is to change their password. Changing the password means that if they are trying to get back into the account, they've got no way of getting back in. Now, under their user profile, you may also wish to do things like switch off their two-factor authentication and re-enable it again to a new device, or you might choose to switch the authentication codes, the backup codes that exist in their account to a new set of codes. These are extra steps that you don't necessarily have to do, but it's always a good idea to do that. Of course, you want to make sure that the account is suspended. Once you've got the account suspended, just double check that it arrives in the suspended status. You go into the admin panel, you hit suspend on the user, and then once the user is suspended, refresh the admin panel and just double check that their status is suspended, because every now and again an operation will fail, meaning that you click a button in the admin panel and nothing actually happens in the background. Very rare, but it does happen, particularly with user operations. So make sure that that's actually been executed. Now, the third one. Now, got to remember what the third one is. Oh yes, if you want to be extra, if this is a completely high profile person and you want to be a little bit extra about it, you could disable some services for that user. So if you wanted to, you could say disable the ability to log into Gmail by setting up a new organizational unit and dropping into the organizational unit. To be honest, once you've disabled the account, you've changed the password, you've made sure that there's no active logins, under the account by clicking the little button in the admin panel that lets you sign them out of all of their devices. There's really not much they're going to get into. But maybe internally you're worried about other employees reactivating their account, someone who's got the permission to change passwords, helping them get back in. Maybe social engineering might mean that they get access to your help desk and your help desk try and reactivate or switch back on the account through a password reset. If you wanted to, you could always move that user into a different organizational unit and start restricting services from them. Of course, if the account is done and there's no use for that account anymore, you might choose to rename the account to something else. So that person's name -archive, and so they can't even log into the account if they don't know what the account name is if it's been renamed. But even better yet still, if you want to retain the data but blow away the account and completely get rid of it, then you can migrate it to an archive account. And we recommend migrating accounts to archive accounts where an employee is ready to be offboarded. You want to keep their data, but you obviously don't want to keep paying for a license. Google do provide a admin, an archive license. And that archive license lets you pay a small amount of money and still have users stay in like a dormant type state of being suspended but not being completely deleted. But if you use our archiving method, then you don't need to bother about that. So what we recommend is you set up one account, you call it the archive account for your business, and then each time a user is offboarded, after you've suspended their account, changed their password, and logged them out of all the apps that they're signed into, well, then you can migrate their data into your dedicated archive account. And in that dedicated archive account is where you keep a copy of the data just in case you need to access it in the future. Okay, so let me show you what that actually looks like in the admin panel, because this is a good one to demo. And if I go to my directory here, I'll go to users, and let's say I always pick on ISA. If I decide that I want to delete ISA's account, it's going to ask me, hey, do you want to transfer data? Do you want to save the documents? Calendar, other things like that. Yes, absolutely. We want to save as much of that information as possible. Super, super important. Then once we have suspended the user, let's see if we can open up the user's profile. Once we have suspended the user, we want to go and look for the security options so we can sign them out. Let's see if I've got access to two-step verification for this user. Apps. Is this the one? No. They made a whole tab. Okay, so we go to the security tab. We can choose to view their backup verification codes and refresh their backup verification codes if we want to just be extra sure by ensuring there's no way they can get into their account. Even if you disassociate or wipe their two-factor authentication device, they can still use backup codes to get into their account as long as they know the password for it. So good idea to refresh those backup codes just in case there's some way they get a new password. They still won't have a two-factor device set up on their account. Next is, here we go, sign in cookies. You can click a button here and actually sign them out of any device that has their account signed in. And once you click this button, it's effectively going to force them out everywhere they've clicked Remember Me. Desktop computer, mobile device, any third-party apps that's like synchronizing and checking in with their Google profile, like the Canva account there, it's going to make all those logins expire and they will no longer be able to access resources that account gave them access to. Super important if you've got some single sign-on applications that allow you to use your Google account to log in. You want to make sure they're logged out of absolutely everything. It invalidates all of the sessions and it means that they're logged out on all of their devices. All right, I think that is about it. You could go and kill some connected apps if you really wanted to, but not super needed. All right. Don't know what's going on with my aircon, but it's blowing cold air on my back. Okay. Nice. Oh, I hope I was sharing my screen there. All right. So let's go to our next question. What additional protections can admins implement beyond Google's spam filter to prevent phishing attacks? Oh, geez. That's a good question. Do I have to give this one to my team? Yeah, yes, Grey Masks. Does suspending the user account lock them out of absolutely everything? Yeah, it effectively invalidates the account. Once they're suspended, they should be locked out of absolutely everything. I don't know for absolute certain if Canva and other apps will expire the login, so it's always a good policy to click the cookie expiration button just to double check. But they will certainly not be able to log into anything new. Will existing persistent sessions stay active? I can't promise it'll kick them out of absolutely everything. My test account's got a problem today. Otherwise I'd test that one live. Yeah, suspending the account means it is effectively like it'll bounce. If someone emails it'll bounce. Suspended account is effectively a dead account. You can just still access the data as an admin. That's basically the only thing you can do. Okay, phishing attacks. I'm probably going to leave that question for our enterprise team because they are going to be able to answer that one better than me. I mean, you can DMARC, DKIM, SPF, the obvious DNS, anti-spam protections. If you've got enterprise licenses, you've got a few more quarantine controls using not DLP, but there's incoming like spam controls that you can set up to quarantine stuff. You can obviously get spam reports from the admin panel, so you can set up spam reports for yourself. But this is more admin team. SMIME encryption on emails. What's the other one? Is it Beam? I can't remember. You can also set like your authenticated email going out by authenticating your logo, and you get a little blue tick, like the little blue verified tick. BIMI, I think it is, BIMI. I will answer that in a proper video with the team. Right. Cool. All right. Next question. Do you pay for a license for contractors, or does their existing email work for Drive access? Excellent question. If you've got Workspace and you've got contractors in your business, there's a couple of ways of sharing access to data with contractors. Now, what most people do is if they're using Google Drive, they'll just open up a folder, hit share on the folder, and share that willy-nilly with anyone they're doing business with. Gmail account, Workspace account, doesn't matter. Or some people will open a document and just share access to that document. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with sharing a document one by one, and it's fine if you're just working on one document or one folder with a specific contractor. But as your business starts to grow and starts to scale, and maybe you have staff that are sharing things with contractors, or you've got contractors who are working with you on an ongoing basis and a longer relationship, and they're generating a lot of documents for you, well, you may start to run into the issue where documents start to go missing a little bit. So we've got pretty strict controls with how we share things with contractors and how we then manage those contractor relationships. My strong recommendation is that you use a feature called shared drives in your Google Drive for all contractor access. That's pretty much mandatory if you're going to be sharing any documents with contractors, and importantly, having them author documents for you, or they're authoring documents that are in service of your business. When you set up a folder in your My Drive and you share that folder in your My Drive, you are the owner of the folder, but any files in that folder may be owned by someone else. If they create the file, they're the owner of the file. When you use the shared drives feature, the company is the owner of the folder, and anyone who puts a file inside the folder transfers the ownership automatically to the company. And that's very important if someone's outside your business working on documents. The worst case scenario, if you don't own the documents in your My Drive in Google Drive, is that someone else has the ability to delete those documents because they're still the owner of the documents. And if someone's created them, they're the owner, therefore they have permission to delete. And what tends to happen is 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the track, after a contractor has done a bunch of work for you, they go in and they clean up their Google Drive when they're trying to create some more space. And all of a sudden, all of the important business data that is sitting in your My Drive disappears. And you may not even notice this has happened for months or even years later, meaning that recovery might be near impossible. Now, once you've configured a shared drive in my drive, a shared drive in your Google Drive, once you've configured a shared drive in your Google Drive, you can set the permissions so that your contractors can add files but not remove files. And that means that even if they're using a Gmail account, any files they create will be transferred to the ownership of your company, and that's the smartest way to do things. Now, if you've got a lot of contractors to manage, you might be interested in one of our videos on how to set up group-based permissions, and we go through in depth how to go and set up a group for your contractors and apply that security group to different folders or calendar events or chat rooms inside your business. And that would be my recommendation rather than managing contractors one by one. But I do have a bit of special advice if you've got any contractors that you work very closely with. If you're a medium-sized business like 20, 30 employees and above, or a large business with hundreds or even thousands of employees, it's probably safer at the end of the day to pay for a license and issue each contractor to your business a login to your account. The reason for that is you don't have to worry about the hygiene and the maintenance of checking to make sure that people are sharing documents into your shared drives. You see, a contractor working from their Gmail account could create a document for you and just share it to you via link sharing by clicking the blue button inside the individual document. And it doesn't stop your teams from collaborating with that external person. And everything seems fine until 2, 3, 5, 10 years later, they clean up the Google Drive, they delete the data, and it disappears from your business, and you lose intellectual property that's probably valuable to you. So if possible, pay for the license, create an account, issue it to the contractor, and have the contractor use that account. If not, your main responsibility for you and or your IT person inside the business is to be extra diligent to make sure that any files created go into the shared drives. Now, there's a brand new feature inside of Workspace which restricts staff from creating files in their My Drive and forces them to create files in their shared drives. I haven't tested that one yet, but I'm going to test it in an upcoming video and show you guys if we can get that policy to work. Because for many years, I've asked for a policy that allows us to do exactly that, restricts my team from creating any documents that are outside of a shared drive. Well, hopefully Google's got the answer with that feature, and that'll be in an upcoming video on the channel. Great question. Contractor management is very, very important. You want to make sure you get that right. All right. Cool. All right. Anonymous asks, I'm super annoyed that I can't mark my emails as urgent in Gmail as I could in Outlook. In Outlook, just by a simple click of the urgent flag, the recipient will be able to see that it's an urgent email. Why doesn't Gmail have the same important feature? Well, it's time for a discussion on open standards on email, which is really exciting to me, but pretty bloody boring to the rest of the world. The importance on an email is a kind of semi-proprietary, to my knowledge, semi-proprietary feature that Microsoft created that not everybody else in the world implemented. Meaning that it's not going to show up in every single one of your recipients when you mark an email as urgent as you do in Outlook. Particularly not going to show up as urgent when people receive it in a Gmail account, of which many people in the world use Gmail and many people in the world use Google Workspace, which is still Gmail. And therefore it kind of killed setting the priority of emails. So unfortunately, just like some read receipts do work with some different mail clients, but retracting emails, which is another mail server based proprietary feature. It does work on Macs if you've got a Mac mail server, but not if you've got a Gmail account. And it does work if you've got an Outlook account running Exchange, but it doesn't necessarily work on all Outlook consumer accounts. Some of these features just don't actually work across platforms. Calendar invites work across platforms because there is a .ics format file which gets attached to a calendar invite, and it's an open standard. But the priority attached to emails, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, it is a Microsoft invented standard and not an open standard, and therefore Google decided not to implement it. I don't know, maybe they thought priorities were dumb. I don't think you're dumb. Maybe Google thought priorities were dumb, and so they chose for that not to be implemented, or for that not to be compatible with the Microsoft world. I've got no other answer for you, apart from if you want to mark something as priority, maybe put a few exclamation marks in the subject line, but be careful that you don't get flagged for spam for excessive use of capitalization, because that's or excessive use of symbols and punctuation, because that's the kind of thing that Google's spam filters look for, and it's the kind of thing that when a prince from a foreign country is trying to betroth their family fortune to you, it's the kind of thing they do. They put lots of exclamation marks in the email, so Google says, this is more likely to be spam. I mean, if you use the word urgent, that's probably going to be your best bet. Unfortunately, I don't have a better answer for you. That's a good one, though. Right. Okay. Can a shared drive be used as a data lake? Good question. Good question. So I had to Google this just to make sure I was thinking about the right thing. The definition of a data lake is, kind of like a database in a way. So think about something like Google's got a service called BigQuery where you can put data into, or Bigtable, it might even be called, the associated like database service that goes with that. Something like Airtable is a prettier version of what is effectively a computer database running in the background, where you can put a hell of a lot of data, run queries on it, and use that as a database. Can shared drive be used as a data lake? Well, it's not designed to be, which is generally a good reason not to use something. I mean, my dad taught me, don't use the back of a screwdriver as a chisel, but I still do sometimes, right? So should you do it or not? I don't know. It's going to come down to like, what data do you actually want to put into Google Drive? I happen to use Google Drive for vast amounts of media storage, and I use that for streaming across different devices, and I use it to stream to mobile devices and stream when I'm in different countries, and it's useful for that. Is it the same performance as an enterprise backup or using Amazon S3? No, absolutely not. But Google Drive is cheap storage because I've got 80 users in my account and hundreds of terabytes of storage available. Now, if you wanted to use it as some kind of live database, you might find the performance lacking. And depending on how much data you have and what your requirements are, eventually you're going to start to run into limits. You're either going to be limited by the API of Google Drive, which there are ways to increase the API limit using GCP. So Google Cloud Platform lets you use a custom API for Google Drive that will let you authenticate with a higher level of access. That's one way. Number two, you're going to run into the limit of shared drives. There isn't a folder limit, but there is a file limit. It's, I think, a couple 100,000 files that you can put in one particular drive. There are some limits, like, for example, how many shared drives you can create in a business. I don't know exactly what that limit is, but I'm pretty sure there's a limit somewhere for that. So is it going to work? I'm not sure if it's going to work. Is Google going to flag you for spamming potentially and try and shut down your account? Well, yeah, maybe. Google Drive is designed to be a collaboration tool. It's designed to be file sharing for businesses and organizations. And so if you're putting tens of thousands of files or assets or objects in and out of Google Drive on a daily basis because you're using it as a data lake, maybe that's going to flag something with Google. I can't say for sure, but maybe it is. I do know for sure that you can only transfer about 500 to 700 gigabytes a day back and forward between Google Drive. And so if you're moving more than that much data every day, then you're going to hit that limit. So it's possible that Google sees your activity and starts to question it. And they don't call you up and say, hey, I'm just wondering what you're doing with these files. They just switch off your account, and then you've got to work on getting your account switched back on again. These are automated tools. Google has literally tens of millions of mailboxes on Google Workspace. There's 6 million organizations on average that have to be at least 5 to 10 users minimum, because most are small businesses and small organizations in the Google ecosystem. So tens of millions of mailboxes are running Google Workspace. They don't care about you as an individual. If you are an outlier enough in your behavior in the app, they just switch you off, and then it's up to you to argue with them that things were, legitimate use, and you should have access to your account back. Now, 9 cases out of 10, Google switch it straight back on immediately when we contact support on your behalf, and that's pretty easy to do. We've even got a quick fix on our website. Click the link down below. If you've got an account that's suspended or something wrong with your account and you need to get access to your account quickly and you're locked out and you can't get a hold of support, because we're a reseller, we can talk to support on your behalf and get things going again. But my advice would be, try not to do anything too far out of the norm of what a business account is designed to do. you're either going to run into limits or you're just going to poke the bear and Google's going to not be happy with your behavior. And hey, rightfully so. This is designed to be a collaboration tool. Use it for what it's designed for. And there are many good quality and even very affordable data lake solutions available, either from Amazon or Google Cloud or third-party options like Airtable that are a bit more beginner friendly as well. All right, great question though. Great question. Love these. All right, let's go to our next one. Nearly at the end of our questions. All right, that's cool. How are we doing for time? All right, drop in if you've got extra questions, go ahead and drop them in. ask.itgenius.com. Thank you for those who are joining live. Always great to hang out. Okay, cool. I'm about to add a second domain to Workspace. My primary domain is an Inc. company. My second domain on the surface is a different business unit, but yet financially we all operate through my Inc. Do I have the second domain as secondary or alias? Currently a small company, 1 to 3. Okay, great. So this is a billing question, and this is actually a good question because some people are a little bit worried, like, oh, I've got one account in one country, another account in another country. How do I merge them, put them together, getting the billing accounts going? You have in each Google account in the back end in your admin panel a relationship with Google. And effectively you're naming, go ahead and sign in here. Effectively you are naming what entity you want to have in your relationship with Google. So just when this bloody loads, there we go. So for the record, if you go to your account and then, I think it's account settings. Here we go. Account and then account settings. You can pretty much put whatever you want in that account name. They're not actually going to hold you to that entity. There is in your billing account, in your subscriptions, somewhere, payment accounts, sorry. In your payment accounts, you can choose exactly which entity you want to have billed. Now, I think we just transferred ours to our reselling portal, so that means that mine won't appear here. But here in your payment accounts, is where your entity is going to be listed in your relationship with Google. Now, at any point, you can rename that, and you can choose which billing account you want to have. There is a slight complication with that, and that's that the country you signed up in is the country where the relationship will be. So if you signed up in the US, it'll be US dollars. If you signed up in the UK, pounds. If you signed up in Australia, it'll be Australian dollars, right? And you can actually move between different countries and different domicile. But the easiest way to do that is through a reseller, because it's pretty darn difficult to do that directly with Google. I haven't heard of many customers being successful with that, but through a reseller, it is possible. Also through a reseller, no matter where you are in the world, you can get an invoice for whatever entity you want, because we just issue an invoice to you. As long as you pay the bill, we're happy, right? And funnily enough, in the old days, there was a bit of arbitrage available because the licenses in Australia were slightly cheaper, being $5 Australian than the US, which was $5 US. But that loophole's since been closed because now they just charge everything in USD or equivalent, and the exchange rates have all kind of evened everything out. But you can change your entity that you are in relationship with Google. But that's not the full question. The full question from this person is, if I'm operating everything under one account, like, what entity should I have on the bill? Well, they have said here they'll all operate through my Inc. company. That's the answer. You register the Inc. company, or you put that in the billing account there. You've got to claim these invoices on tax, presumably. So you want to have the correct, entity name on your invoices. You go then claim it on tax. What companies you run under it, Google doesn't care. Your reseller doesn't care. You can put whatever domain names you want there. You can put your family office domain name. You can put your, Peter's Pet Food side gig domain name in there, multiple businesses, whatever you want. My only caveat with adding multiple business domains to one Workspace account, and if you go to our channel, search multiple domains, there's a million videos on this. If you have other business partners in one of these ventures, you might not want to put everything under one consolidated Google Workspace account, because things tend to be shared with each other automatically. So by default, collaboration is switched on, view access to calendars is switched on. You can click one button in a Google site or a Google Doc and it's automatically going to share it with everyone in the organization. If you don't want that happening between business owners of one individual business that should really be separated, and the rest of your companies, don't put them under one umbrella of a Google Workspace account. Keep them separate. It has its own downsides, but you probably already know those. All right. This person did also say they're a small company. So if you're a small company, then yeah, you're probably fine. You're probably fine on one account. Okay. How do you feel about Google Voice? Do you think it's an efficient phone system, or would you recommend different providers as a company that you would recommend? I'll be completely frank with you. It came here and I got to test it like once, and then they never delivered it. I can't even say here. I'm in Spain. I'm not in Australia anymore. But it came to Australia and I got to test it once, and then they paused the rollout. Oops, I think I'm under NDA for that. But anyway, they stopped. The rollout didn't happen, put it that way. And I genuinely don't know why. I assume it's just because they got busy with other stuff. I think at the time they were getting pantsed by AWS and they really wanted to get GCP built out. And so they decided to pull back on the telco play. Because I think the telco play in Google Voice really only helped grow and keep people sticky on Workspace. And if I think how Google thinks for a moment, Workspace is probably sticky enough without Voice, and they probably won't make enough money on Voice because telco is a commodity play. And so they probably went, you know what? Why bother building this product? Even though it's it was a pretty good product. They probably went, you know what? Let's not bother building that because we can build other things to retain customers better. Let's build, what became Gemini. Let's build, I don't know, they're building new tools. They're building new tools now. I mean, this is all nearly 10 years ago. So I haven't spent much time with Voice at all. And I actually asked the team to give me a US account, which I finally got to play with Voice, but I don't know where it's going outside of the US. Is it a good system? Yeah, it seems to work fine. I met the founders of Google Voice who sold it to Google in the old days and then left Google to go and set up Dialpad. Super smart guys. And Dialpad is what Google Voice should have been if Google didn't squash it internally. Craig, I forgot his name now. Craig and a couple of other really, really smart dudes left, set up Dialpad, scaled it up the googly way, and have made an amazing product, and it's made a really big impact, and it's got all these AI features, and it's all the things that Google Voice should be. The only thing it isn't is natively integrated into the Google Workspace ecosystem. So if you've got access to Voice, yeah, it's a great, basic phone system. It doesn't have all the fancy AI and analytics features that something like Dialpad has, but it's built by Google. It's rock solid. You can port your numbers in. You can, distribute the numbers to different people. You get voicemail with automatic transcriptions and all those kind of things. I just haven't touched the product in a long time. These days, interestingly, so many more people are doing business on their mobiles, on WhatsApp, on text, via live chat and stuff like that. I don't know what the future is for business phone numbers. I've moved to Europe and everything's done on WhatsApp here. I spent half my time in Asia and everything's done on WhatsApp there as well. So I don't know what the future of business phone systems are, particularly when the millennial generation, who are all phone natives, all are running businesses. Like all my friends that run business, I'm 36, all my friends that run businesses are on phones. They're not buying business phone systems because they don't care about having a business number and looking professional with a business number. So I don't know if that answers your question. But you asked for my thoughts. You asked for my feelings. That's my feelings about Google Voice. If you want an enterprise phone system, consider Dialpad, consider 8x8, consider Ring Central, consider AirCall. They're the kind of big players in the unified communications as a service. It's the name of the category. Or if you just want something really basic and just one or two numbers, Google Voice is probably going to be perfect for you. These other apps get better when you've got 3 or more people using them and you want to route calls and transfer calls and have a business number that has advanced routing and automated menus and press 1 for blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. That's where these applications get better. Or if you've got a sales team and you want to monitor their calls using AI recordings and all that kind of thing, that's where something like Dialpad is really, really good. And if you search the channel for Dialpad, I've got a bunch of videos on Dialpad as well. All right, that's it. Last question. We are wrapped. No more questions in the chat. Thanks so much for joining. There you go, Clarissa. That's my producer. We're done. Done, and done. Have a wonderful day, night, wherever you are.